direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late to me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Rhett Conversations. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fieri. And with me, I want a co-host with a short skirt and a long jacket. It is Ms. Leia Cameron.
Long skirt and long jacket is more like it. But yes, hello everyone.
Yeah, well, it's cold in the Midwest. And with us, very special guest. If you recognize his voice, it is probably because somebody has sent you one of his hilarious TikToks out of the group Villain Support, in which customer service agents take calls from known villains. It is Mr. Chris Wolf. Chris, great to have you here.
It's great to be here, Josh. I really appreciate it. Leia, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
So, Chris, this is your first graphically novel production, whether Rhett Conversations or our flagship. So we have a tradition of our guests telling us about their history with comics. So Take it away.
My history with comics, I spent a lot of time as a kid. Reading G.I. Joe was my favorite one when I was a kid. I was a huge fan of Snake Eyes and Scarlet. I definitely shipped them before shipping people was a term.
Well, if you're shipping, it probably should have been Shipwreck.
Oh my God.
That's what I was into. I liked X-Men. I was really into X-Men and everything. It was just turned into a situation where I didn't have the money as a kid to get issues every week. And I was into G.I. Joe, so that's what I got. I do know a lot of the X-Men storylines. A lot of them I'm familiar with from the X-Men cartoon as a kid. I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And also some of the movies, but I've also then gone back and read the storylines to kind of get an idea as to what were they trying to do in the show? What were they trying to do in the movie? And how did it actually go in the comic?
So have you done any of that research for Villain Support? Just being
a little bit, yeah.
Nice.
It's always fun to read about a villain and be like, all right, what are their powers? What are their abilities? What do they do? How did they get defeated? And then find the point where it's like, okay, that's a dumb thing. I'm going to exploit that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hopefully we give you a little bit more ammunition today because you have asked for a doozy. You have asked us to go over Age of Apocalypse, which I did not know this before today, but to give a little insider baseball on how comics worked in the 90s versus how they work now. Back in the 90s, now you'll have let's call it like a civil war. Like you'll have a main story that's crossing over everything. You'll have the main line called Civil War that's like 6 to 10 issues. And then you'll have your favorite issues of whatever you normally follow, that how, their issues become how the storyline affects your favorite characters, right? They didn't do that in the 90s. What they did, and especially with Age of Apocalypse, what they did is they just created brand new comics. So we're going to have a lot of X-Men Alpha #1, or they took existing ones and redid them. So in this series, Weapon X #1 is a thing. Weapon X was an ongoing series that they just restarted for Age of Apocalypse. There are 37 issues just in the main continuity of Age of Apocalypse itself.
Horrifying.
And that does not count all of the prequel stuff that came out later. This is collected. The most recent collection is called the Epic Book Collection. It is 4 books of 300 plus pages.
So nice, short, and digestible in an afternoon.
Yes.
Right.
As always.
1,200 pages of 90s X-Men goodness. I got 100 pages into the first one before I realized that was all the prequel stuff that had come out after.
Oh, okay.
Years after. So I got a hold of Leia on Friday. We're
Yeah.
recording this on Saturday and went, hey, you haven't started on that yet, right? She's like, no. I'm like, well, thank you, because we're moving books. We're going to move to the second. We will be doing book 2 today only, which is 14 issues. And at the end of the show, I'm going to ask you if you want to come back next season for book 3.
I'll tell you the answer is already yes.
Oh,
Unless you spend the entire episode insulting me.
This isn't college.
I know. You've matured since then.
I have. All right. So a couple things. Yeah. So like I said, I got 100 pages into the prequel stuff, and some of it's interesting. But I mean, some of it is like Mystique shows up to Magneto and is like, "This is Rogue. She's your problem now," and dips. And yeah, like random shit like that. But I'm going to give a little back. Well, okay. First, if this is anyone's first episode, this is how we do this show. I am the presenting, because it is an X-Men story. I am the presenting professor, Professor J. And I will be taking Chris through this story bit by bit. Obviously, spoilers, because we're going to explain in depth. At any time in our show, Chris can reach up, pull the emergency brake on the entire show, ask any question he likes, makes any comment he like, any clarification, whatever. It does not have to be serious. In fact, you're gonna want it not to be for a few of these.
Well, I was gonna say, if you haven't already figured it out, I'm not a very serious person.
At that point, it is the assisting professor's job, Professor L, to come through and answer that question. If she can't, she can bounce it back to me, as I do have a little bit more X-Men knowledge.
Chances are pretty good if there are any questions about X-Men continuity, backstory, plot lines, etc. I'm just going to make something up.
Awesome. Yeah, take the Jennifer Howland role. Got it.
Straight up, I'm going to lie to you because I don't know. And I've read at this point more X-Men than I needed to. We've done this is several seasons in already, and I've already read more X-Men than I care to. So yeah,
and in fact, yeah, this Age of Apocalypse 3-parter, if we do all the parts that are actually Age of Apocalypse, this may kill X-Men for the rest of our conversation.
Oh, really?
This is one of our last, real big X-Men stories. And yeah, and it's just pre-2000s X-Men.
Yeah.
It's just, and I mean, even some of the stuff now is really in depth. It's interesting, but it's really in depth. But unfortunately, pre-2000s, and this is a comic problem in general, but X-Men specifically, didn't follow the show don't tell. They used thought balloons to explain everything.
Oh.
And if you want to do that over and over again, maybe don't. I don't know. don't do comics.
Yeah. It's like a telenovela, but you can read people's thoughts. It's pretty good. So that is how we will continue. If we can't answer any question, by the way, neither Leia or I can answer questions. We just put up our hands, wiggle our fingers, and say comic books. So
sometimes that's the best and only explanation.
Right?
Yes. This does not explain how Age of Apocalypse came about. That happened in the main continuity. So I'm just going to sum it up real quick by saying Legion, who is Charles Xavier's son, decided at one point with his infinite powers that Magneto was a real problem, and that if Magneto had been dead earlier, the world would have been better off. So went back to kill Magneto, and unfortunately killed Charles Xavier, therefore making it so he didn't exist, so Legion blinked out of existence. So this is a world in which Charles died in front of Magneto, and Magneto swore that he would take up Charles's mantle, so he took the dream.
Oh.
That is how Age of Apocalypse came into being, and that is where we're going to start.
So I have a question right off the bat.
Sure.
Given the different personalities and different powers and abilities, like one of the reasons that Charles Xavier is such an enduring character is because he could read the thoughts of everyone around him. And he could keep the team in check because he knew what they were thinking. He knew what they were going to do, all that stuff. How dramatically different are Magneto's X-Men, and how much did they get away with that he didn't know about?
You are going to see. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was going to say basically the same thing. You are going to find out. It is an interesting thought experiment, at least. So
yes. Yeah, this is definitely the sliding doors episode of X-Men. How does one thing change the world? Yeah. So we're going to start with X-Men Alpha number 1. We start with basically Seattle, which is just a horror pile of bodies, of dead bodies. A mystery person climbs out of the dead bodies, and it's revealed that the dead bodies is what happened to humans who refused to leave North America when Apocalypse took over. He basically was like, North America is the mutants now. Y'all have, I don't know. Well, let's do this like Israel did. Y'all have 48 hours to get out. And then we're just going to start indiscriminately killing people. Yeah. A little girl runs up to this figure, saying they're coming, and they've already killed her mom and dad. They that they are talking about are revealed to be the death squad of Lord Unis, and his Infinites. Infinites being kind of Apocalypse's, death squads.
Okay.
Unis uses a force field on the stranger only to have his powers absorbed and used back against him. And then just before a big fight happens, the X-Men show up. So these X-Men, that we meet are Sabretooth, Wild Child, Blink, Morph, Storm, Quicksilver, Iceman, Nightcrawler, Rogue, and their leader Magneto. On the show, we generally don't describe the fights, like to get into it is too difficult. So big fight. The X-Men win. Magneto broods to Quicksilver, staring at all the bodies. And he talks about how he almost became a villain like this. Like his ideologies were shifting towards this would have been the result, like the subjugation and elimination of humanity. But Charles died and led him to the dream, which I have always put in a capital D just because it's an ideology.
Right.
The stranger is revealed to be Bishop, who claims that the entire world, who blames the entire world on Magneto, saying Legion changed time and killed Xavier, and Magneto wasn't able to stop it. Magneto makes him sleep by depriving his brain of iron, because magnetism is magic.
Medical note, not actually possible.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Beast is in a lab torturing the Blob. He's trying to unlock more of his mutant powers. The Blob breaks free, and then Havoc and Cyclops show up and put him back down.
So Beast has become Francis from the Deadpool movie.
More Magdala, but
Okay.
yeah. And Havoc and Cyclops basically say this is an illegal lab, and that Apocalypse is introducing the Kelly Act for peace with humans, and in that act, genetic experimentation is strictly forbidden. Havoc and Cyclops start squabbling with each other, because that's just what they do in this era. When their father shows up, their father being Mr. Sinister.
Hey.
Yep. Glam as fuck.
Is now Mr. Sinister in the main timeline is not their father, correct? Their father's some space pirate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. I don't know.
Yes. Havoc and Scott's real father is Corvair, who is the main space pirate of the Starjammers.
Okay.
Which is Space Marvel. And so fuck that noise.
Oh, Hey.
Sinister tells Cyclops that there's a danger he needs to go face to prevent the end of the world, so that he will be gone for a while, and he dips. At that moment, Sentinels fly by, but the Sentinels are oblivious to all the mutants that are gathered, especially past a high-rise in downtown New York called Heaven, which is a club run by Angel, who shelters mutants from the human resistance.
Oh.
He's visited by Gambit, who needs information on where he can find Magneto. Angel asks if that's a good idea because of their past, and Gambit admits that Magneto, quote, took everything from him. Angel agrees to help as long as Gambit never comes to Heaven again. He doesn't need that kind of heat. Gambit in this is kind of a Robin Hood figure.
Okay.
And kind of tangentially helps the human resistance that are trying to basically just get people out of North America into Eurasia. Back at the X-Men base, a robot named Nanny takes care of a toddler whose mother is Rogue and whose father is revealed to be Magneto. The child's name is Charles. And then it's revealed that while Magneto can use his powers to touch Rogue, she can't touch her own child. Womp womp.
I have some questions about that, how the child was conceived, but I'll keep it to myself.
Not even with gloves on?
She can touch the child with gloves on, but that's she's lamenting about a mother's touch. Magnetism is magic and can do whatever. And so the answer to your question, Leia, is that he could put a magnet, like a field over his body that allows him to have sex with Rogue. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Is it to have pores of a certain size so that genetic material can get through, or what? Like, at what microscopic level do Rogue's powers stop working and Magneto's keeps working? And how does he know what that specific micrometer measurement is?
Trial and error.
We're gonna have to do this a lot.
Man.
Yeah, because okay, so there's a book called Science of X-Men. I highly recommend it because it's a bunch of MIT physicists and scientists that came together and broke down all of the X-Men's powers. It's a phenomenal book because they talk about how Quicksilver's main power isn't moving fast. Quicksilver's main power is immunity to friction, because moving that fast, he would be whittled down to nothing very quickly. But they never went into Rogue's ability and why sperm wouldn't be zapped inside of her.
Yes, yeah. I mean, these are the things that I, stay awake at night thinking about. Just 3 a.m. eyes wide open, be like, how did Rogue get pregnant?
There are areas of the internet that could probably answer that, but they involve Rule 42.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to Google it.
I'm sure there's an in-depth investigation just as deep as Science of X-Men was by some very dedicated fans.
Yes. Very different website, probably self-published. Okay. Bishop is being interrogated and says nothing until Magneto shows up, and then Bishop alludes to Xavier's death having something to do with Magneto. This is, by the way, in front of all the other X-Men, so we've already started to lay, some serious doubt in what's going on. Magneto lashes out and knocks out Bishop, and reveals that since Jean Grey was, quote, lost to them, they don't have any telepaths. So Rogue will just have to use her powers to go into Bishop's mind. Sinister meets with Abyss and Holocaust, who are two of his horsemen.
Great name, by the way, A+.
Yeah, Holocaust. Yeah. They discuss the absence of the fourth horseman, Mikhail, when Apocalypse arrives. This, by the way, this whole fourth horseman, Mikhail, being missing, never gets explained.
Cool.
So the Kelly Act is a farce, and Apocalypse is basically just letting humanity drop their guard so he can wipe humanity out entirely. Sinister in thought bubbles basically is like, that doesn't fall within my plans. Wolverine and a few... yeah, go ahead.
Isn't one of Apocalypse's powers that he is also a very powerful telepath? Like not on the scale of Xavier or Jean Grey, but doesn't he basically have like some of basically every power?
I feel like but it's like mild. It's very low powered. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any clarifying information, Josh.
I am looking right now. I've never actually thought about what his powers are.
I'm going based totally off of what I remember seeing from the Apocalypse movie, where they had the big psychic battle at the end.
Yeah, he has a psychic link with others, but that's more like communications.
Gotcha.
And he has telepathy. And his power list is extensive. He has mutant physiology, which allows him to constantly evolve, which basically he can have whatever fucking powers the writers decide to give him. But these powers include immortality, self-resurrection, self-atomic manipulation, matter manipulation, superhuman strength, durability, stamina, reflexes, psionic manipulation, which is telekinesis and flight and telepathy. So, yeah.
Kind of.
So he's a walking, talking MacGuffin.
Yes.
Yes, he is. Not quite as bad as Leia from House of M, but like her power was literally MacGuffin.
So more and more I identify with Wanda as the further we progress into this storyline.
Oh man, maybe that should be our new logo, is just you very angrily yelling no more mutants. So, in London, Wolverine and a few others in hoods basically are walking around waiting to get jumped. They're looking for the human High Council, but they're mutants. So they basically walk around until, like, this guy with a knife jumps out going, "Mutants!" And then they very quickly, like, knock this dude down, tie him up, and say, "Take us to your leader." It turns out that the High Council have taken up residency within the ruins of Big Ben, and that one of the hooded figures with Wolverine is actually Jean Grey. They're there to meet. Yep,
Jean Grey, who is both a telepath and a telekinetic on a ridiculously high scale.
Yes.
Couldn't use her telepathic power to figure out where the High Council was without having to beat up some dude.
Right?
This is only going to get more tiresome, Chris.
Hey. This is what I'm here to do, is ask the hard questions.
Yeah, we don't have any answers, but you keep asking them hard questions.
We do appreciate you asking questions, to be clear. We just don't have really good answers for them, is all.
That's fine.
So, Chris, do the names Moira McTaggart and Bolivar Trask mean anything to you?
McTaggart is Xavier's on-again, off-again love on the island off the English coast, and I can't remember whether it was like the mutant haven place. And Bolivar Trask is the guy who created the Sentinels, right?
Yes. They are married in this universe.
Oh,
and the leaders of the High Council.
Okay. That's concerning.
Yep. Wolverine and Jean have stolen some data rods from Mr. Sinister, and they're having Moira decipher them in exchange for the data that's on them. So hopefully the data helps the High Council, but it also helps Wolverine and Jean. Jean wonders at the wisdom and reveals just to Logan that they are working for Sinister. Wolverine reassures her by kissing her, and she basically says he is her world, and that no one can ever steal him away from her.
Okay. I have another question from way earlier.
Okay.
Does Magneto wear his Magneto helmet in this?
Yes. Yes,
so because of that, his ability to talk about how he was going down this path before he saw the light or saw the dream, he and Charles were already at odds, and he had taken steps to prevent himself from being telepathed.
Correct.
Is what I would assume out of that. But as far as the storyline actually got, were they actually at that point?
Doesn't seem so. I mean, I didn't read the prequel like Josh accidentally did, so I can't say for sure. But
you didn't stumble, trip, and read a prequel.
Yeah, again, this is one of those the points in this book where you just kind of have to throw your hands in the air and go comic books, because you're absolutely right. And I did think about that as well as I was reading this. I was like, well, what is the point of even having this whatever, man, comic books? It's just so we can identify him on the page as Magneto, I guess.
Because, I mean, Jean Grey could feasibly try to read his mind from a distance. But that would be the only threat. And I guess the question is, he made that helmet to protect himself from... Now, I know the movie version. I don't know the comic version. The movie version, he stole that helmet from Kevin Bacon's character, whose name I can't remember.
Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah, but in the comics, did he make it or did he steal it also?
I think it's the comic you read.
Yeah, that's also true. Main consensus is that he made it to prevent Charles from reading his mind.
Okay.
Out of some magic metal that blocks thoughts, also known as tinfoil.
Yeah, I was going to say, and depending on, I also feel like depending on which comic you read, it's either adamantium or vibranium or an alloy, question mark. So it's just whatever people have, lying around in their brains at the time, pretty much.
Okay.
Back in Westchester, which is the base of the X-Men, in Charles's old mansion, a combination of Quicksilver, Rogue, Magneto, and Sabretooth gather to combine their efforts to pull the information from Bishop's mind. Magneto, by the way, not wearing his helmet. So the idea is that Rogue will touch him, Magneto will put a magnetic field around her to try and protect her, ? Magnetism is magic. Quicksilver will be there to quickly pull her away if he needs to, and Sabretooth is there to gut him if everything goes wrong. Just kill Bishop. So as Rogue touches Bishop, there's a massive backlash of psychic energy that hits Magneto and gives him all the memories of the 616 universe. So gives him the timeline, like knowledge of the timeline of what would have happened if Charles hadn't died. Gambit shows up because Quicksilver is just standing there like a goof, like shocked that this happened, and Gambit pulls Rogue away from Bishop, breaking the connection. So I saw your finger go up.
Yeah. I can't see what you're looking at, but how does Quicksilver know in that quick time period what has just happened to Magneto? Can he read the thought bubbles?
He might as well have done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just Gambit seeing Rogue, like, stuck in a state and being like, ah! Quicksilver doesn't know what's going on because he's just caught off guard.
Oh, so he's just, okay, he's caught off guard by...
Just kind of what's happening, like this.
Yeah.
And the scene in front of him, basically.
I thought he was reacting specifically to Magneto having the memories of 616 downloaded into his brain. I'm like, how the hell does he know that?
No, it's just kind of like a burst, and people like fly or like
and
get knocked sideways by this blast.
That makes more sense.
Gold psychic energy or whatever.
They're on the bridge of the Enterprise.
What it is now.
They're on the bridge of the Enterprise, and they just start tossing themselves around randomly. Sabretooth grabs Gambit by the neck and is basically going to kill him. Just basically being like, oh, hey, look at you. You're not our friend. And Magneto stops him and basically says, no, I summoned him. Despite the, quote, sins of the past, which are forgotten for now. Magneto asks Nightcrawler to go find his mother and bring her to him. Magneto tells everyone to leave so he can ponder the vision that he's just had. Rogue rightfully pushes back and saying he's keeping things from her. She also reveals that they have a son in front of Gambit who isn't happy to hear that. Yeah, this entire story for Gambit, my favorite character, is the quote from Basketball that says, "It certainly does seem to be raining shit on Joe Cooper."
Yes.
This is the part where I feel like Gambit would be asking, how the hell do you two have a child together? And they would have the opportunity to answer the question we talked about earlier.
There is like a part where he's like, "What?" And somebody's like, "Oh, did they forget you to invite you to the baby shower or whatever?" And that's it. You know, there's no. I agree with you. This should have been a like, "What? How is that possible?" Because that was all what we were thinking, right? Like,
but they couldn't explain it because it was the 90s,
right?
Clippy shows up and is about to be like, "Would you like me to explain how they fucking?"
It looks like you're trying to have a baby.
Have you considered magnetism is magic?
Oh God! Yeah,
Elsewhere,
when a mommy and a daddy magnet really love each other.
So elsewhere, Apocalypse is disturbed. He has discovered that Sinister has disappeared, but it's okay because Holocaust has vowed to find him.
Oh, great!
Back at Westchester, Magneto prepares to address all the X-Men. Rogue reveals that she saw what was in Bishop's head too, but she doesn't believe it. She just thinks he's crazy. And that is the end of issue 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Generation Next, number 1. We are introduced to another team of X-Men. This team are training, and this team is Chamber, Husk, Mondo, Shadowcat, Skin, Vincente, and Colossus. Unlike the regular Colossus and Shadowcat, these two are sadistic and enjoy hurting the trainees while training.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a lot. They really
Like a lot.
Vincente is the one I'm totally unfamiliar with. That sounds like a dude's name and not an X-Men code name.
I am also unfamiliar with who that is.
Are his powers that he's Italian? I mean, what?
He makes the pizza.
He's, in Mortal Kombat where it had the guy that was like, "Poopsie!" He just pops out and go during fights and goes, "That's a spicy meatball." Also, Mayor and Hollywood's favorite character. His actual name is Vincente Semeta. He is part of Generation X, which is like a 90s kids kind of comic-ish. It was like the new teen version of the X-Men.
Okay.
He's able to shift his state of matter from solid to liquid to gas. That is his power.
Okay.
Do not ask me how that's helpful, but that is what he can do. Magneto shows up and says he would like to speak with Shadowcat and Colossus. He reveals that he sent Nightcrawler and Gambit to collect proof of Bishop's memories, and if they're proven true, their team will be sent back in time to prevent Charles's death.
Okay.
Even though Apocalypse has killed all time-traveling mutants, there's hope because basically there are a bunch of mutants whose powers have yet to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So Magneto has a mutant named Know-It-All access Apocalypse's system to look for any mutants that might be able to manifest the right powers. Know-It-All lands on Colossus's sister, who we thought was dead, Ileana Rasputin, who is being kept in a camp.
He lands. Oh, not physically.
Yeah, right. I was recording Straight Up Dog Talk the other day, and my co-host said launches the dog at one point. What she meant was at the beginning of like a race.
Yeah.
You start the dog, and I was like, launch the dogs. Yeah, there was a lot of like fighting in this issue, so that is actually the end of that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was mostly like
Mostly just punching and kicking.
yeah, Danger room shit. Astonishing X-Men #1. Magneto is preparing the team of Quicksilver, Iceman, Sabretooth, Morph, Storm, Banshee, and Nightcrawler for a mission. He starts by just saying, so this is a suicide run.
Great.
Yeah. They're interrupted by Blink and Sunfire, who are running from an Infinite. The Infinite being the Death Squad.
Yeah.
One of the Infinite follows Blink through her portal, and she takes care of that easily by just closing it on him when he's halfway through.
Oh.
Crunch.
Yep. Sunfire brings news that Holocaust is basically proceeding with the culling of humanity. That is how Holocaust thinks he's going to basically find Sinister.
That's the worst name.
I cannot imagine that a character named Holocaust would do such a thing. That's
the worst name for a character who's going to do that.
Oh my god! It just every time I read it, I cringed. I was like, "This is." You can tell when this was written, and it wasn't a good time.
Yeah, I'm really, really sorry about the next line of my notes. Sunfire talks with Rogue and reveals Holocaust killed all the humans in Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gambit comes to say goodbye to Rogue before his mission and almost gets a kiss out of Rogue before they're interrupted by Nanny, who's like, hey, you remember your kid that's right here that I'm taking care of? Your child? You have a baby in a bar. Magneto is off brooding when Nightcrawler comes and lays out the exposition that basically reveals he and Mystique are supposed to... Basically, he's supposed to go find Mystique. Mystique and him are then supposed to find Destiny, who is somebody that was before Nightcrawler's time. Apparently, Mystique knew Destiny. And then Colossus's team have been dispatched to Seattle to try and stop Holocaust. Nightcrawler worries this is all because of Bishop's false memories, and Magneto says he's actually more worried that the memories are real. Kurt asks if he'd sacrifice the world they live in for the other one, and Magneto's like, yup.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Blink, Rogue, Sunfire, Morph, and Sabretooth prepare to go on the suicide run to stop a culling. Quicksilver tries to talk Rogue out of it, but it does not succeed. End of that issue. Excalibur, #1. A mutant named Switchback steers a gondola to a meeting site where she meets...
Sorry, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I think you know what I'm laughing at. Maybe you don't.
Switchback driving a gondola?
It's very, very similar to a character from the Boondocks.
Oh,
Yep.
yes, it's true. Yes. She meets up with Kane, who was known as Juggernaut, is not in this universe. He's just Kane. And he's also a monk. And he says he will guide her to Avalon, which he does. In what was New York, Heaven is infiltrated by Nightcrawler, who confronts Angel. Nightcrawler needs passage out of the United States to Antarctica to meet up with Mystique. From there, they need to go to Avalon, where Destiny is. Angel tells him how to get there, and Nightcrawler teleports away. It's a very important scene. Magneto gets a call from Mystique, where she's like, I'm not going to Avalon. I'm not going to Avalon. Destiny and I have a past. I'm not going to Avalon. Magneto's like, that's cool. I totally understand. I'm just going to turn you over to Apocalypse or maybe just kill you myself. She's like, okay, I'll go to Avalon. Nightcrawler arrives where Angel sent him, and it's revealed that it's a church run by John Proudstar. Nightcrawler reveals that he hates churches. He apparently has a bad background with the Catholic Church.
I used to be a priest.
Which is crazy.
Yes. The transport process to get to Avalon, by the way, is a 3-step process that they refer to as the Infernal Gallop.
The Infernal or Infernal?
Yeah.
Infernal Gallop.
I
It just-
dead serious thought I heard the word infernal.
We're thinking way too much about Magneto.
In Rogue. Yeah.
Want to get Avalon? You must ambulate in a way that will cause you never to have children.
So important side note is that this infernal gallop thing is basically a post-apocalyptic version of the ghost dance.
Yeah.
That indigenous people would practice in order, basically the concept being is that they dance long enough and dance hard enough, the white man would leave their land and leave them the fuck alone. And every person killed by the white man would be reborn. And now they're doing it to basically do the same for Apocalypse and his people.
Yeah. It's also revealed that this step that John Proudstar does, he basically does it to get human beings out of North America, to save them, and he does it for free. He is not a fan of Mystique's leg of the journey, where she basically fleeces them for anything that they have. And John Proudstar is basically telling Nightcrawler that he doesn't appreciate his mother and is pointing his finger at him when Kurt just chops his finger off with a sword. Yep. And is you're going to take me to Antarctica now, or I'm just going to slaughter everyone in here.
Yep.
So spying on this meeting is Danny Moonstar, who reports back to Apocalypse. And she discloses that Avalon is in the Arctic, which they had said, and Apocalypse orders Damask to take Danny and Dead Man Wade to go and eliminate Avalon.
Dead Man Wade, is that any relation to Deadpool?
It absolutely is Deadpool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But without any of the Deadpooliness that we know. He's basically just a walking corpse.
Yeah, he's like a weird zombie guy.
In Avalon, Switchback is introduced to Destiny by Kane. Once Switchback touches Destiny, Destiny gets a vision of the fiery, lowercase a, Apocalypse. So basically the world's going to end.
Okay.
Because of course it is.
Yeah.
End of that issue. And the beginning of the only series of comics out of this that I actually own, because it is Gambit and the Externals #1.
Okay, cool.
Jubilee is introduced as a traitor against Apocalypse, running from his guards. Apparently, Gambit has convinced her to become a traitor by joining his Externals, which is his own kind of take from the rich and give to the poor team, but it's more helping humans out.
Okay.
Jubilee is running from the Infinite Patrol because she stole medical supplies intended for the Chosen of Apocalypse.
Ooh.
Strong Guy and Sunspot join her, and they wipe out the patrol.
Strong Guy.
Yeah, Guido.
Mhm.
Leia, do you have any experience with Guido before this?
No, I honestly thought it was a joke at first, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, he kind of goes... he mostly goes by Guido. Strong Guy is kind of like the name that people give him. He was one of the New Mutants. His power is he's giant. He's a giant dude. But he's kind of hilarious.
Okay.
I do really like Strong Guy. He has a gifted level intellect. He is talented. He's a talented musical comedy actor and stand-up comedian.
Wow.
Okay.
But he's also giant and has super strength.
Nice.
I love him. So they go to where the human refugees are hiding, and the human refugees are led by Lila Cheney. Lila Cheney's a very early X-Men character, if you don't know who she is.
I don't.
She is an intergalactic rock star with in the 616, she has the mutant ability to teleport anywhere.
Okay. Even if she hasn't seen it?
Yes.
Yes.
In anywhere in the universe or galaxy or whatever the largest one is. We find out that Apocalypse, by the way, has outlawed music. And that's why she's helping the human resistance. They all walk into a room, revealing Magneto is there. They all get ready for a fight, thinking Magneto has attacked Gambit. When Gambit shows up and calms them down, basically saying, no, Magneto and I are kind of working together. Magneto is there to have the Externals steal something, and that something is the M-Cron crystal from Shi'ar space.
Okay.
Yep. The guards report back to their captain, Richter. He wants to capture the Externals while the Horsemen are in town so he can get noticed by Apocalypse. The Externals are kind of high on the Apocalypse Death Squad's list because they just cause trouble for them all over the place.
Yeah.
Amusingly enough, Richter kind of fits into the Sheriff of Nottingham role in this. The Externals and Magneto are breaking into an old Apocalypse lab in the sewers. They enter and are surrounded by technological marvels. The Madrai, which is like an Apocalypse cult attack, and it's revealed that the Madrai are basically all Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, and all of his dupes as a cult for Apocalypse. Okay. Jubilee defeats all the Madrai by exploding their cloaks at a molecular level.
Okay.
Sunspot finds the librarian, whose name is Peter Corbeau. He's working with Magneto to help him find the Shi'ar galaxy, and it's revealed that the space that they're in is actually the remains of Apocalypse's celestial ship that was destroyed years and years earlier.
Oh.
They hook Leia up to a machine and activate her dormant mutant powers to open a spatial rift that take them to the galaxy, the Shi'ar galaxy. While the way is opening, Richter and his guards show up. Leia opens the rift, and the Externals go through, along with Richter. Magneto is left to fight all the guards, which, I mean, he does.
Right.
Corbeau reveals Apocalypse will order his death and says he'll have the last laugh as he sets the ship to self-destruct.
Wonderful.
End of that episode.
Oh.
It is, by the way, never shown what happens when an intergalactic spaceship explodes in the sewers under a city, or how Magneto got out of there.
But it did, and he did.
Yes.
Yep.
Comic books.
Yep. Weapon X number 1.
Maybe it had the same self-destruct system as Spaceball 1 and just didn't happen.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Weapon X number 1. Wolverine and Jean have reprogrammed a Sentinel not to... Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Human Resistance has reprogrammed a Sentinel not to, identify them as threats, so that they're using the Sentinel as a Trojan horse to get into the great seawall that Apocalypse has resurrected on the Atlantic seaboard. Okay. They jump out of the Sentinel, they fight down several levels, they run into a Balrog-class meta-cyborg that has been created by Sinister. They beat it and split up. Gambit heads toward the control room when Havoc shows up and confronts Jean. There are some very unpleasant things that Havoc refers to Jean as throughout all these panels. He starts by calling her an escapee from the breeding pens and says his brother will be very excited to see her again. At one point, he calls her a breeding sow. It's revealed, by the way, and I hadn't noticed this before when we first saw Wolverine, but he is missing his right hand.
Oh.
Yeah. Apparently, Scott somehow took it, and it didn't grow back.
Yeah, you know what? I actually, because I've been following along, and I didn't notice that until just now as well.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, he is missing his left hand. Yeah, he still has his right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wolverine goes and basically disables the security measures in the control room. Very quickly meets up with Jean, sees Havoc is threatening Jean, and knocks him out. They go to escape on the Sentinel, but Havoc shows up again and is somehow teleported out. It really wasn't explained.
No, not explained at all. He just is gone. Bye.
Yeah, he's teleported out with one of the Sentinel's hands.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
does Wolverine still have claws? And like
Only on one hand.
On his right hand.
Yeah.
adamantium claws?
Yes.
Yes. And an adamantium skeleton.
Yep.
So wouldn't he feasibly have adamantium like starch of claws as they retract into his forearm?
One would think.
You'd think, but comic books. That's another thing that, again, immediately I was like, but what about a skeleton?
Right.
Yep. So, with the security on this seawall down, the High Council has sent all their Sentinels to join them. Basically, they're heading for Europe.
Yeah.
So they're going to use the Sentinels now to cross the wall to take human refugees over to Eurasia. Cyclops reports to Apocalypse that Sinister had sent information to the Human High Council, and Apocalypse says he'll handle it himself. In London, Wolverine and Jean listen in on a meeting of the High Council, which includes Moira and Bolivar Trask, Brian Braddock, Mariko Yoshida, and Emma Frost, who basically have the plan right now to just nuke North America and wipe it out.
Wonderful.
Yeah. They're attacked by Magma, who was sent by Apocalypse, and she is immediately killed by Wolverine.
Magma is immediately killed.
Yes.
Okay.
End of that issue.
I'm waiting for the stump claws to make an appearance.
The stump claws. I love it.
I'm still holding on to that being a thing.
I mean, like in the panel where she gets killed, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, looks like he's got both hands like shoved into her body, like, with the, the sound effect. So
it does look like the stump hand is
okay, now I see it. The
steadying her.
It is there. It's just, I'm not a big fan of the art in this, and it makes it very difficult to kind of figure out what's going on. And this is a great example of that, because I did not see the stump hand until now. It's very missable.
Right. Yep. Oh, and by the way, the plan to nuke North America is called Project Scorched Earth because they have zero fucking chill.
Right.
We move on to the Amazing X-Men #1.
Okay.
A group of humans hoping to escape is trusting a cloaked figure to arrange their escape to Eurasia. The figure is revealed to be Copycat, who is loyal to Apocalypse and snitches on them to the Mad Ride immediately. Okay. In Westchester, Bishop is watching the X-Men train for reprogramming. Okay, watching a training exercise, and unlike anything else in the Danger Room ever, this is actually a training exercise for a very specific goal, and that is very quickly to introduce a little disc into Sentinels that reprogram them to recognize the X-Men as non-threats.
Okay.
So they want to help. Yeah, it is literally a CD-ROM. It also has 30 free days of AOL.
You got one in the mail every other day at that time in human history, so it makes perfect sense.
It was double-sided. Side A is AOL, side B is reprogramming Sentinels.
Your first month of not being recognized as a mutant is free.
Some people use it to decorate their dorm walls.
Some people use them as coasters.
Coasters, yep. Oh, yeah. Some people play Frisbee with them. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the team doing this training is Banshee, Iceman, Storm, Quicksilver, Exodus, and Dazzler.
Who is Exodus?
He's a guy.
All right.
Hey, y'all told me to ask questions, so.
Yep.
No, that's.
He's a telekinetic mutant. Mostly his story, this is this is early stuff that he was in, but he really kind of came up to importance during House of X, Powers of X, which is fairly more recently.
Okay.
He's a religious zealot. He's a 12th century nobleman from medieval France. He fought
I
in the
feel like-
Crusades and
I
then
feel
was
like
taken by
Exodus-
Apocalypse.
And Holocaust would be diametrically opposed to each other.
You think, and yet here we are reading some X-Men.
Yeah.
Well, they are diametrically opposed. Exodus is on the X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah. So Magneto joins them and sums up what's going on in all the other books. He just spent several pages catching you up on where everybody else is and what's going on. Magneto sends them on a mission to Maine, where there is a group of human refugees. And he's like, Exodus, teleport them all there. Exodus is like, hey boss, that's not one of my powers. Magneto says, if you have faith in me, you can teleport everyone. So Exodus teleports everyone.
Magnetism.
Yeah. This is again like a great case for the insane clown posse. Like fucking magnets. How do they work? It's a miracle.
How do they work?
It is a fucking miracle. That's all you need to know. That's it.
If you believe in me. So Magneto's just become God.
Or Exodus is a druid or a cleric of Magneto, which isn't too far off because in the modern run, he's a cleric of Hope Summers. So,
Okay.
So the team teleports to Maine, and they basically hold off. They're like, yeah, we can't do anything right now, but give it a second, because the Sentinels can't get here yet. Storm goes out to another coastal defense barrier, and just destroys it. And then the Sentinels come flooding in to evacuate the refugees and take them to England. The X-Men are able to get that disc into a Sentinel and reprogram it, but the override doesn't work. And the Sentinels blast Iceman. And they vaporize him, and the rest of the team's like, oh, that's cool, he can put himself back together. Which I've never known to be one of Iceman's powers.
Yeah, no, but they are all
apparently
very
he believes in Magneto now too.
Yes, that's right.
They are very bafflingly confident about this. They're like, NBD, he can put himself back together. I read that and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Is that how ice works?
It's not even cold out.
Listen, guys, I want to make Plot Armor the mini-series, but we're going to have to call it Age of Apocalypse.
So the Sentinels then reveal that the reprogramming did work, but it just didn't work for the X-Men. Somehow, Apocalypse's Brotherhood were able to get to the disc to change it, so now it recognizes them as okay, not the X-Men.
Okay.
That is the end of that issue. You having fun so far?
Yeah, this is striking. Like this reminds me of that bit at the end of Bill and Ted, where he's like, but like if I go back, your dad's car keys. But hey, if I lose my car keys next to that sign 2 weeks ago, that's where they're gonna be.
Right. And he's like, we have to remember. And he's like, we did remember because they're there.
Right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. That is all of this, very much so. X Factor number 1. There's a group of 4 escaped Morlocks that are being tracked down by Cyclops, Havoc, North Star, and Aurora. Havoc, basically they capture the Morlocks, and Havoc just kills one of them.
Right.
He's like, no, fuck you. We found out that the Statue of Liberty has been converted into a Statue of Apocalypse, and it's where Sinister is hiding and has his secret backup lab.
Okay.
Back at the pens, the Guthries, Amazon, and Cannonball are scolded by Cyclops for letting the Morlocks go. Havoc goes to visit Beast. Beast is picking up where Sinister left off and is attempting to make the next evolution of mutants, basically by melting them into a primordial goo.
And seeing what comes out of it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, seeing what he can do with it. He's not kept anything stable for more than like an hour, but he's working on it. Yeah, the dead body of the Morlock that Havoc killed is given to Sinister, or given to Beast, and Beast is like, great, more for the pool, and just dumps it in. Havoc basically is talking to Beast about how he is going to take over for Sinister, and brings up how Sinister left Cyclops in charge. He's like the prefect.
Okay.
And that if Beast takes over, maybe Beast would want somebody else to have his brother's position. Meanwhile, Cyclops, not realizing that Sinister is gone AWOL, keeps looking for him, which makes no sense because he was the one that reported that Sinister had sent information to the humans. So,
Yeah.
In heaven, Havoc is visiting Angel when a human, Gyrick, shows up and is about to suicide bomb heaven. Yeah. Unfortunately, he has revealed his plan to a room full of mutants who very quickly apprehend him, and the bomb is defused because they have powers. Gyrick is arrested, and Havoc's real motive is revealed. He's sleeping with the gorgeous human singer of heaven, Scarlet Mackenzie. But that is a crime because he is a mutant.
Okay.
He's basically lowering himself. There is a lot of fucking Schindler's List, analogy bullshit happening in this.
Yeah, I mean, I get that the movie had come out. I think the movie came out around the time that this was written.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because I distinctly remember watching it in high school, and I want to say that this series came out in 95, question mark?
Schindler's List was 93.
Okay.
Age of Apocalypse, 95.
Okay. So I was wondering, yeah. So yeah, because that tracks, because I watched Schindler's List my freshman year in high school, and this came out shortly thereafter, and they were apparently they were hey, that movie had some good ideas. Let's put some stuff in our book.
So with him leaking information to the humans, we're basically reading Sinister's List.
Oh my god! All right, everybody. It was great having this podcast today. We will get to you next time.
This could have been another human. Yeah, my funny story, my funny haha story about Schindler's List is that my parents thought it was very important that my siblings and I see it. So 95, I would have been 15, which means my brother would have been 12 and my sister would have been 9. And they took us to see it. And then the next week, my school was like, we think it's important for everyone to see Schindler's List. And my parents and I was like, I'm not going to go see that twice in 2 weeks. And my parents are like, yes, you are, and signed the permission slip. I'm like,
wow. Yeah, we had to watch it in high school too. And then, so I worked for a Jewish nonprofit, and the Jewish nonprofit had an event about 2 years ago where, for reasons that I still to this day cannot explain, this is a very big, fancy, major fundraising event. Everybody's dressed up. There's hors d'oeuvres, and there's wine, and there's people are milling about. Wealthy folks are getting ready to see this presentation that we're going to have about how great our nonprofit is, and all the stuff that we do with their donations, and blah 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 blah. It's a big deal. We have one every year, and for reasons I still can't explain, for 4.5 fucking hours, the song "Jerusalem City of Gold," which plays over the end credits of Schindler's List, was just on repeat for 4.5 fucking hours.
Wow.
So
wow.
I was like, this cannot happen again. I will throw myself into traffic on 9094. This is too much. Who in the world that was putting together this program for everybody was like, this song and only this song will be playing the entire time?
I want you to know something. This song slaps.
It was messed up. So I always think about that when I think about Schindler's List now, and there was my own terrible experience with that.
Wow. Just wow.
4.5 hours.
Okay, and so back at the base, Cyclops orders Jesse Bedlam to pick the lock on Sinister's private lab. Once inside, they see that everything has been smashed, and destroyed or taken. And this is where Cyclops realizes that Sinister has abandoned them. Took Scott all this time to kind of wake up to it.
Yeah.
As they're talking about this, Sinister explodes the Statue of Liberty apocalypse space.
Okay.
So basically he's like, oh, my other lab got discovered. They're going to be here soon. Goodbye.
Kaboom. Yeah.
Yep. And now, the most 90s of 90s issues. How familiar are you, my friend, with Nate Gray, the X-Man?
I'm aware of the name. I don't know what his nickname is, nor what his powers are.
Okay, well, his nickname is X-Man.
Okay.
He's radical. He has the power of the 90s.
Oh.
Yeah. Man. How to explain X-Man?
He wears Jinko pants and he has a chain wallet.
He has, in fact, skateboarded in a lot of his comics.
He's totally dutiful.
He is the first that has been called an Omega level mutant. Like, he was the first one that designation was used for. And now he is more than an Omega level mutant. Not in this, but yeah.
Okay.
He can explode himself and put himself back together. He can possess people. He can absorb energy. He can actually project. He has psionic armor, psionic weapons. He can travel the astral plane. He has telepathy. He can project illusions. He has mind control, memory manipulation. He can mind blast. He's an intuitive multilingual, so he just picks up new languages. He can pick up residual thought imprints that are on things. He can communicate with computers and cyborgs. He has power manipulation, telepathic tracking, and dream manipulation. Oh, wait, no, the list is not done yet. He has immense telekinesis, including flight and force fields, telekinetic holograms, concussive blasts, telekinetic flare, intangibility, energy manipulation, matter manipulation, teleportation, tactile telekinesis, healing, time manipulation, reality warping, and he has in the past carried the Phoenix Force.
I'm so tired.
So he is the culmination of every 9-year-old boy's dream hero.
Yes.
Yes.
He can pretty much do anything the plot demands of him.
Yes. He's X-Man.
He's in this story. Why?
He has an entire series in this story.
Yeah, he sure does.
This is, by the way, his first appearance.
Okay.
So, nobody knows who this is. A new mutant wakes up not knowing who they are. Cyclops apparently tries to help him, but he runs away only to run into Mastermind, who takes him back to his base, where they are joined by Toad, Sauron, Brute, and Forge.
Sauron, like Lord of the Rings Sauron?
No, Sauron.
He's like a pterodactyl-looking guy.
Have you seen?
Spelled the same
Yes.
way, right? Spelled the same
Yes.
way? Okay.
Yes. Have you seen the meme? Well, no, it's Saur. Sauron.
Oh, okay.
Sauron. Yeah, Sauron is a telekinetic pterodactyl. You may have seen him in the famous Spider-Man meme where Spider-Man says you could use all of your powers for good and cure cancer, and instead you're turning people into dinosaurs. And he says, I don't want to cure cancer, I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
I mean, as rationales go, that is pretty clear.
Right? Yeah, so the man's name is revealed to be Nate Gray. And he was apparently, the whole thing with Cyclops was a simulation. And during the simulation, Nate released a blast of power that cleared a large area of the forest that they're in. How it didn't hurt his friends, I don't know. Yeah. The group that he's with, so like Mastermind, Sauron, all those guys, are disguising themselves as a traveling acting troupe performing Midsummer Night's Dream for free in small Midwest towns of human refugees.
This is very elaborate.
That is a sentence that I said out loud.
This is so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I've spent valuable time in my life reading this book, and there's points that just broke me. Earlier, I wanted to note because we skipped over it and I forgot to mention it. But this series also earned my ire because there's an offhand remark that somebody makes. They're like, Chicago, that place was condemned even by human standards years ago. And I was like, I literally closed the book and walked away. And came back a couple hours later when I was feeling more composed. So, like...
It's okay, because, like, with all things Chicago, they were probably just talking about the suburbs.
As someone who grew up in the Chicago suburbs, I agree with all of this.
Joliet, fuck that place.
I'm from Glenview, so...
I mean, look at what came out of there. Juice Robinson.
Oh, man. You mean the stray bullet? Rock hard Juice Robinson?
That's too many nicknames. Pick one. Anyway.
Stay tuned for our AEW podcast coming soon. Mastermind believes that Nate has power that can rival apocalypses, but that makes him a target if he's ever discovered. So he's encouraging Nate not to use, especially his psychic powers, because apparently the psychic powers are the ones that people can pick up on.
Right.
Cyclops reports to Apocalypse that Sinister is gone and has turned against him. Apocalypse, instead of being upset about it, welcomes it, and Cyclops is like, "You're not upset about this?" He's like, "What part of survival of the fittest do you not understand? Like, if I wasn't fighting other people, I would not be fit." Apparently, Apocalypse also has Shadow King in, like, a jar or something. And Shadow King? Shadow King is... Yeah, go ahead.
He's the king of the shadows.
Okay. So for those listeners of yours who would like some more information about that...
So, Shadow King is a supervillain. He has a very in-depth background with Xavier in the main comics.
Okay.
Originally, he was the guy that paralyzed Charles. He basically lives in the telepathic, like, version of Earth. So, like, the astral realm, he lives there, and he's a bad dude.
Okay.
In fact, for the best interpretation of Shadow King, and actually a lot of stuff, there was the TV show Legion was amazing and had the Shadow King in it. Oh, so good. And for a while, he's played by Matt Berry, which is awesome. So anyway, Shadow King, and then Shadow King tells Apocalypse there's an extremely powerful psychic mutant out there. And Cyclops hears this, and is dismissed by Apocalypse, but he leaves basically being like, powerful psychic. I could use one of those. Apocalypse sends Domino to find this psychic mutant, recruit him, or eliminate him.
The lucky person? Domino?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Deadpool 2's Domino. In Kansas, a group of human refugees are being relocated by Apocalypse forces when Nate's group stops the train and frees them. However, they're attacked by more Infinites. Sauron is severely injured. Nate takes out almost all of them himself when one of the humans, a woman named Teresa, manifests her mutant abilities for the first time, saving Nate by issuing a sonic scream and then just passing out.
Okay.
Nate picks her up. He's like, she's one of us now. But as the team are retreating, they're approached by a mysterious man named Essex, who says he can help them.
Named
End
Essex?
of that issue. Essex.
Essex. Okay.
Yep.
Like the city in England. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yes. The county. Yes. And the city.
Oh, it's a county. Okay.
Yes. The Amazing X-Men, number 2. A human the young human boy is climbing through the sewers looking for help when he runs across and is eaten by Abyss, who is one of Apocalypse's.
Chomp.
Yep. Finally getting back to Maine. You remember when the Brotherhood and the X-Men were facing off forever ago? Yeah, we're finally going back to that. Yeah.
Okay.
The Brotherhood is like, hey, we really like this whole reprogramming the Sentinels things. Let's reprogram them to make all the humans targets as well. And while the X-Men go to protect the humans, Quicksilver is given a vision of his dead sister Wanda, so gets distracted and is almost taken out, but is saved by Dazzler, to which a Sentinel takes out Dazzler.
Okay.
Exodus protects Quicksilver and Dazzler when Storm arrives and is able to temporarily disable all the Sentinels with lightning. Banshee has apparently been sent by Magneto on his own separate mission and goes to the Brotherhood ship, where he sees the Cardinal Medri, so basically Jamie Maddox, the main, is dead and strung up by Abyss, who is Apocalypse's newest horseman.
Okay.
Abyss basically opens like its chest to show Banshee that he has a child in it. And he's like, the kid will die unless Banshee brings him Magneto's son. Banshee leaves and goes to Quicksilver and basically is like, hey, this dude wants you. Storm joins Quicksilver and they go into the ship where they see the boys unharmed and they're able to like be like, okay, are you okay? And then Abyss approaches them and they're like, why did you just leave the child? And he goes, I don't know. What do you do with your gum when it loses its flavor?
Yeah.
There's a big fight and it ends where Quicksilver takes Abyss and takes Abyss's head and makes Abyss look into itself, which basically makes it swallow itself.
So, have you seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or Full Metal Alchemist?
Yeah.
Abyss sounds like gluttony.
A lot like that, except Abyss doesn't have really physical, unless it wants to be physical, it's intangible.
Okay.
While they were gone, the X-Men reprogrammed the Sentinels and beat the Brotherhood all off panel.
Oh, cool.
So saved us a little time there. In New York, which is now, by the way, called Hell.
Yeah. Quote, now, end quote.
Karma is being interrogated by, I have no idea because they never name him and I didn't recognize him.
Is that the full written name in the panel?
Yes, absolutely. He wants Karma to tell him where Gambit went after he met with Angel. Sebastian Shaw is there and was basically the person who reported that Gambit had been there. Apocalypse interrupts and says that he knows where Magneto and the X-Men are, that they're staying at Xavier's old mansion, and then it's time to see who is the fittest.
Ooh.
End of that issue. Factor X, number 2. In the pens, we see Polaris, who has visions of Magneto sneaking other inmates out, but leaving her, saying he doesn't know who she is. But she's like, but I'm your daughter. Cyclops and Havoc meet with Apocalypse to discuss Sinister. Nothing's new is revealed, but Apocalypse does develop a shining to Cyclops, saying that he could be a future Horseman. Havoc ain't having none of this and is pissed off and is now ready to kill his brother.
Because Havoc's always been the more unstable, power-hungry brother, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Back at the pens, we discover Polaris actually did see the breakout. She just saw Magneto instead of whoever did it because she's crazy. Havoc interrogates her, and she says she's Magneto's daughter before whamming him with a giant magnetic pulse. They tase her out, and Havoc basically is like, well, for hitting me and doing that, you're going to go to Beast now. So he takes her to Beast, who says he knows her, and he's personally verified that she's not related to Magneto. Basically, in the first round of culling humanity, her powers manifested and shattered her mind as she watched her parents die. And she basically came up with this whole thing that she was Magneto's daughter. Also, after that happened, this must be in the prequel stuff, Rogue stole half of her powers. So,
Half?
yeah, half.
Oh,
I thought
all
if Rogue didn't take all your powers, you got it all back.
Well, unless your name is Ms. Marvel.
right.
Well, didn't Rogue steal all of her powers?
Yeah, for a while, and then she got like half of them back, and then there was a whole
Got
thing.
better.
Yeah, she got better. As Havoc leaves, like basically Havoc's like, okay, well here you go, Beast. Mind fucker and get what you can.
Oh.
As he's leaving, Polaris is yelling at him, calling him Alex, and asking why he's doing this to her. This is not followed up on anywhere in the comics we're going to read, but this tells me that this is actually Lorna from 616.
Yeah, that was my guess too.
Who is somehow like in this universe?
Yes.
Somehow. Yes.
Yes. And if it's explained, it is not explained anywhere in books that we've read. It's probably
Right.
one of the, little side series, whatever.
Right. Sir not appearing in this film.
Yes.
Meanwhile, at the blown up, what I'll just call Lord Liberty, what used to be the Statue of Liberty, Cyclops and the Bedlam brothers investigate the scene when Angel drops by. He just wants to chat with Cyclops about the looming war with Europe and how that's bad business for everyone. That's honestly all of these panels are, and I don't know why. Havoc and Scarlet are hiding away in heaven post-coitus. Scarlet almost tells Havoc she loves him, and he cuts her off, saying, "No, it's illegal. We can never be together." And as soon as he's gone, she calls the High Human Council and is like, "It's too hot here. I need an extraction." Beast tortures Polaris and is about to prep her for brain surgery when Cyclops shows up and orders Beast to stop his experiments. Beast refuses, and Cyclops destroys all of his equipment and pulls rank. He's basically like, "I'm the prefect here. You will do what I say." As he's walking away, Polaris sees him as Magneto. So thinks he's Magneto. That night, Lorna's savior returns, the person that's been sneaking people out. She sees him as Magneto, and he's there to help her get out.
So these people are all hallucinating then?
She's hallucinating.
Yes.
She is.
Yeah.
Okay.
She is. She's the unreliable narrator.
Okay.
So to hide whoever's identity this is for storyline purposes, like whenever this person shows up, they're either cloaked or they look like a ghostly Magneto.
Okay.
Yeah.
They sneak out and they run into North Star and Aurora, which they take them out quickly. And the Savior gets Polaris to a boat. And it's revealed that while she's seeing Magneto, the Savior is actually Cyclops, who has been sneaking people out of the pens.
Okay.
Unfortunately, from a ways away, through a scope, Havoc sees it too, and now knows that Cyclops has been helping people escape. Weapon X number 2. Wolverine wakes up and Jean's gone, and so he just freaks out and starts going everywhere, being like, "Jean! Jean!
Gene, I'm missing you in my hand, Gene."
Yeah, I'm missing you and my Phantom Jean.
Who's gonna help me eat my hoagies?
That's amazing.
Jean, my claws are stuck and I need to wipe.
Holy fuck.
He finds her helping with the processing of like all the human refugees. So she's just like helping people. They are attacked because members of the Brotherhood from back in Maine have stowed away on the Sentinels that they reprogrammed to basically get to the base in London. There's a big battle to which, Wolverine takes care of it. But after the battle, Wolverine and Jean disagree on how to move forward. Wolverine is like, it's a war, so one side just needs to win the war. And Jean is like, I think there might be another way. There might be a peaceful solution still. And they are just not agreeing.
Okay.
They're not on the same page. Wolverine meets with Mariko, and they discuss alternatives to nuking North America. Mariko doesn't trust Braddock because Braddock basically built the Sentinels, so he profits off of war. Some altered humans attack in a blimp and are aiming the blimp to kamikaze the weapons control systems of London, which apparently are just sitting out. Wolverine leaps onto the burning blimp. There's a big fight. The blimp hits the controls and actually disables the weapon controls. Okay. There are no survivors except for Wolverine, who walks out of the wreckage like half on fire. And while he's doing that, he receives a psychic goodbye from Jean. He chases her down and finds her getting, like, basically about to take off in a plane. And he says she can't warn the States about the attack. And she basically just shows him her neck and is like, okay, well, make it quick then. Because either I'm doing this or you're killing me. He's unable to kill her, and she takes off.
Okay.
Leaving him behind. Gambit and the Externals #2. You remember forever ago when the Externals fell into a portal that was going to the Shi'ar Empire?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hey, they're there now.
Yeah.
And as soon as they get there, they're face to face with the Imperial Shi'ar Guard. The Imperial Guard asks for their surrender, and Gambit gives the order to run.
Isn't that guy's name like Gladiator or something like that?
Yes, there's like Gladiator, there's name them? Nope. Gladiator and the rest.
Yeah, and friends. Gladiator and friends.
Yeah. Gladiator, Oracle, there's a couple others. I don't know, Space Marvel. There's a big fight. The Externals escape into a forest, and as soon as they get into the forest, the trees and vines start to wrap around them, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Okay.
The Imperial Guard, however, have caught Richter, who came through the portal with them, and Richter's like, oh yeah, I can help you find them. Gambit and the Externals wake up in a different place. The plants have brought them to someone saying they're there, that they have come to help the planet. Leia says while she was creating the portal, the planet itself had called to her. Richter tells the Imperial Guard he has a tracker on one of the Externals. And they're like, okay, cool, so we can take that tracker and kill you, right? And he's like, well, actually, see, I have powers, and I can destroy the tracker in my hand. So They're like, oh, well, maybe we'll actually make a deal. He cuts a deal with the guard and says, you can do whatever you want with them, but they're fugitives back in my world, my planet. So once you do whatever you're going to do with them, I get them and a ship, and I get to go back home. And they're like, okay, deal. But in the middle of them all talking, there's kind of like it's a weird, almost earthquake, but it's not. Okay. What it is that everything ceases to be for a half second.
Just a half second.
Just like, yes, everyone experiences just like reality go away for a second and come back. They attribute it to the M'Kron crystal, and they call it a Nexus expansion.
A Nexus expansion.
Yes. Back in the forest, the Externals have felt it too, and they basically, by this other group, are explained what the M'Kron crystal and the Nexus expansions are, and all of them are immediately like, we're in way over our heads. This is not the job we signed up for. We were just supposed to steal something. Lila, can you get us out of here? They're discussing it when the Imperial Guard and Richter show up, and there's a fight. Gambit asks Lila if she can use her powers again. Strong Guy objects strongly.
I would expect him to do nothing else.
Yes. While the fight is going on, though, the Nexus expansions keep happening. And happen in a different way because the Imperial Guard is turned to crystal in front of them.
Oh, okay.
Lila is like, I don't have any power left to get us out. Things are turning to crystal around them. They're about to be taken by whatever this is, when suddenly they're teleported out by the Starjammers. And on the view screen, they watch from the Starjammer ship as the planet they were on turns to glass.
Awesome.
The Starjammers explain to them that the Mcron crystal is sentient, and for reasons of its own, it just destroyed the planet. Gambit decides that, well, hell, if we're expected to be heroes and save the galaxy, that's what we're gonna do. This is the end of this book.
Okay.
How you feeling?
There's a lot of questions. A lot of it's the 90s.
Sure
and
is.
you know, I think we all recognize that while the people working on the comics had great ideas and were very excited about what they were doing, like contiguous plot didn't always matter as much as making it exciting.
Oh God, no!
Yes,
Especially like
absolutely
90s
true.
X-Men.
Yeah, yep, absolutely true. And I can understand because Age of Apocalypse was done in the X-Men cartoon. It was a hugely popular thing. I can understand why so many things were cut for the series, for the cartoon, though. Because holy shit.
This was a lot.
Yeah. And this is only a third of the story. A fourth if you count the prequel stuff.
I'm all for doing another episode next season if you guys are up for it.
Awesome. Leia's like, it depends on Josh. Fuck all this.
Yeah, if you want me to explain it to you, you're going to be out of luck, bud.
We are here for 15 minutes while Leia just reads the Wikipedia entry. If you have any questions, well...
If you have any questions, please direct them to Marvel at fuckoff.biz.
Yep. So, that is Age of Apocalypse. I hope you had a wonderful time.
I did. We got to laugh. We got to learn some stuff.
We laughed, we cried, we felt
my
feeling.
head. I'm a very visual person, and not having read the X-Men comics, for me, my whole visualization of this is a combination of what you're saying and my memory of the books and the cartoons,
the art style,
and the movies that tried to do these storylines in a much more compressed manner.
Yeah. And honestly, man, so much better when you do them in a compressed manner, because there's a lot here that was just filler.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I understand you want to sell books, but god damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it really is a case where this is it's just so 90s. It is just so 90s.
So goddamn 90s.
And like I was trying to read it the other day, a friend of the podcast, Adam Witt, was like, hey, how are you doing with Age of Apocalypse? I was like, the artwork is sometimes so bad that my eyes keep like skittering away from it. Like it does, my eyes don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
That is book 2. That is what we went through. I just sent you a link to it so that you can actually read through it.
Cool.
Yeah. But only book 2. So
no. I'm motivated to do only what I need to do. So this was awesome.
Too.
I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what do you want to plug for the folks? How can they find villain support? How can they find your hilariousness?
Villainsupport.com. It takes a little bit to load. It's set as a forward rather than an actual destination. But you can go to Villain Support at Villain Support on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, or at Acme Villain Support on Facebook. It's about 500,000 followers across all my social media at this point.
Nice.
And I've got merch if people want merch, like I've shirts with the Sport logo on it. But I just honestly, like if people are into villains right now because of the actors strike and the possibility that I may want to at some point join the union or use union actors in future projects, I'm abiding by the rules of the strike. So we're not doing any like major existing characters at the moment, kind of touching books and comics, kind of touching anime, but really it's been a lot of our own individual creations. Like I made a guy called Gary the Broke Vampire. He's a 300-year-old vampire who sucks with money.
Oh, I've met that guy.
There's an alien warlord named Purgax, and Purgax is lawful evil. So like he's definitely bad, but there are rules that you have to follow, including him. So it's been a lot of fun, kind of creating our own little universes and characters. But I am itching to get back to using like existing characters. Not only because it gets better views, but because there's more that I can do with it because more people know about it. I've spent less time teaching people about who these characters are and
Right.
just doing
Right.
making the content. So
Absolutely.
yeah, been doing that for about almost 2 years. 2021? So 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because when you first started, you had gotten a hold of me
Yeah.
and you were like, you want to help out with this? I was like, I am doing 2 podcasts and I'm going to die. But I'm really, really happy that it is taken off because it's one of my favorite, like, in the feed.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. There was one recently where it was Dracula in a different universe. I'm trying to remember who he went up against.
He went against Harry Dresden. Have you read the Dresden?
Right,
file?
Harry Dresden.
Oh yeah.
And the support person had to explain like alpha timelines and how you are not the Dracula that can take Harry Dresden. Because it was Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I was very angrily slapped down by many Dresden fans, reminding me that Dracul in Dracula's universe is actually the father of Dracula, or in the Dresden verse is the father of Dracula, not Dracula. But regardless, it still holds that like it's like Kingpin from Marvel going up against the ultimate Spider-Man.
Right.
And just having there's nothing he wouldn't stand a chance.
Right. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
We will have you absolutely back. I will torture myself with another couple books of Age of Apocalypse and we'll get through this.
What? If you have open spots later on, you want to have me back on for something else, I'm happy to jump in when I'm able to.
Sweet. Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, you are on the list. For everyone else, thank you for joining us and suffering through this with us. But until then, take it away, Vandello.
A little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration alienating me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.